Okay, no, I'm not reading A Song of Ice and Fire this month. It's the Booktube Games. Your girl is competitive as fuck, and she's also Team Ketterdam, which means we have to bring this home for my people. So I am going to be reading a shitload. And when I say a shitload, I mean a shitload of books. Hello everybody, Nora back again. So I'll just go straight to my TBR for February, which is also my TBR for the Booktube Games, because your girl is in it to win it. So I finished Rain and Rising last month, thankfully, which means that I can start February with the love of my life. So the very first book I'm reading this February is Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. The plan was for me to actually finish all the Grisha themed books before I read King of Scars this month as well. So yeah, for those who don't know, if you've been living under a rock and have no idea what Six of Crows is, because in this channel we're Six of Crows trash. A group of misfits get together to pull off an ice that is dastardly and stupid and impossible. But like the love of my life, Nikolai Lansov likes to say, when people say impossible, they mean improbable. And this band of misfits are about to do the unthinkable, and that is what it's about. It's told from 6 different perspectives. This is a reread, and it's a great way for me to start February as far as I'm concerned. The second book I'm reading this month is the second book in the Six of Crows duology, and that is Crooked Kingdom. Now, I love Six of Crows, but this book, Crooked Kingdom, is my baby. It made my top 5 books of the year. Just when we thought our band of misfits had, pulled off the unthinkable heist, they get double-crossed and backstabbed, and Kaz Brecker does not live for backstabbing. So yeah, they're coming back. Mina, Bada, even the heist in this book makes the first heist seem like child's play, and I'm ready for this book to wreck me, because I remember the ending of this book. I was not the same. I did not want to be the same. February is the month of tears and lots of reading. So that is Crooked Kingdom, also by Leigh Bardugo. I'm looking forward to reading it. I apologize for the speed of this TBR. You would understand why by the time I'm done listing all the books I want to read, because there are a lot of books. The next book I'm reading this month is The Language of Thorns, also by Leigh Bardugo. It's a collection of fairy tale stories. I have been wanting to read this book since I bought it last year, and I have not had the opportunity to, and I definitely want to finish it before I start reading King of Scars. And also, look at that cover. It's stunning, like stunning. And full disclosure, I'm participating in 4 separate readathons this month. Yes, February is the month of readathons, and Noria trying to kill herself by reading way too many books. And I have so many books that I'm picking because of the different readathons. Those videos are all going to be listed. You can check out the reasons why I chose each book in order to meet each prompt of a readathon or 2. But this, I'm just going to tell you a brief synopsis. The next book I'm reading this month is Gilded Wolves by Roshani Chokshi. Now, this came in my Outcrate box. I am so happy. I am so pumped. I am so hyped and ready to read this book. Like, it's basically a Six of Crows meets Uncharted, the video game. So we have a band of misfits. They are going treasure hunting, and apparently their characters I will love. They're very diverse characters. I think I heard someone that is a Filipino bisexual character, and I'm like, yes, I hope I love him. I can't wait to read this book, and it's set in historical Paris. So it looks like it's right up my alley. It's part of my anticipated reads from last year, and I am so happy I'm going to get to read it this month. The next book I'm reading in February is Heartless by Marissa Meyer. Now, this is a book I got from a friend. Don't worry, I'm going to do my all this month. I have a lot of books, guys. Between Christmas gifts and like books I bought myself, that haul is going to be humongous. Anyway, this is one of the books I got as a Christmas present. It's Heartless by Marissa Meyer. It's a retelling of Alice in Wonderland, but told from the perspective of the Queen of Hearts. I am looking forward to reading it, because you know me, I love my villains. I especially love it when the villain has a great backstory and you feel for them, and you can feel their anguish and their pain, and you understand how they become the person they are when like the story starts. But it's like a behind the scenes thing. Some people hate it, some people love it. I sincerely hope I belong to the crowd of people that love it. The next book I'm reading this month is an Enchantment of Ravens by Margaret Wagerson. A human girl, I think, does a painting of the Fae Prince, but when she does the painting, she captures the sadness and sorrows in his eyes, and it's a big no-no for the Fae because, you know, they believe that that is a sign of weakness, especially for a prince. So he kidnaps her and, I don't know, takes her. Apologies, my phone fell. Yeah. I need to do something about this situation. I'm actually already doing something about the situation. You'll find out soon enough. Anyway, so as I was saying, she's kidnapped. I think she's taken to the land of the Fae, and I think it's an enemies to lovers story. I don't know, but they had me at Fae because I do like Fae stories, and this cover is so pretty. I know some people loved it and some people really, really, really hated it, just like Heartless. So I sincerely hope I belong to team I love an Enchantment of Ravens, because if not, that would so fucking suck, because this is yet another book I got as a Christmas present, which I love. Binta, thank you. The next book I'm reading this month is 12th of Never by James Patterson. It's a thriller. I have never read a James Patterson novel. I picked this because of a prompt I have for Valentine's. And what do I know about this book? I think serial killers abound. It is a thriller after all, duh. Serial killers abound. The person that is meant to catch them is pregnant, heavily pregnant, and I think she's about to have a baby. And I'm like, okay, that's interesting. I hope I enjoy it. I'm fingers crossed that I do, because how many times would you find a pregnant woman chasing serial killers? Like, let that sink in for a moment. The next book I'm reading in February is Daughter of Smoke and Bone by Laini Taylor. Now, this is a book I said I was going to read in January. It was part of my TBR, but I never got around to it. And I really, really, really need to read this book. And thankfully enough, I chose it for a body read. So I've already started reading it. So far, I've only read like 2 chapters. And all I can say is that Karu is my type of girl. She has blue hair, she has tattoos. Sign me the fuck up. The next book I'm reading this month is A Darker Shade of Magic by V. Schwab. Now, just like Daughter of Smoke and Bone, I was meant to read the entire trilogy actually in January, but I couldn't get to it. I intend to read, even if it's just A Darker Shade of Magic I get to read this month, I would consider it a success. I don't really know much about it. All I do know is that there are 4 separate Londons. I think one of them has magic, or it is that one of them is the only one that doesn't have magic. And we follow someone who is a magician and who has the power to travel through worlds, which I find really cool. Portal travel is my thing. So I'm looking forward to reading it and discover. And apparently they said that there's a girl in here I am going to love. And I'm looking forward to meeting her because, you know, we can never have enough girls to love. The next book I'm reading this February is The 100 Words of Salanga by Aisha Aruna Attar. Now, this is a book that it's really small, but it's very powerful. It's a book that talks about Ghanaian history at a point where, you know, tribes are warring and fighting, and then you have a girl, Amina, a young woman, Amina, who is captured as a slave and taken to a neighboring country, and basically finds an inner strength within herself she never knew she had, because she had to turn from a woman who was flightful and daydreaming into someone who is more resilient and who can actually cope with that situation. And this story is told from her perspective and the perspective of Woche, the daughter of the war chief that I think captures Amina. So I'm actually looking forward to reading it. The next book I'm reading this month is The Sellout by Paul Beatty. Now, I really don't know that much about this book. I do know, though, that our lead character was raised in isolation all these years, and when his father is killed through police violence, and something about his town being moved off the map of California because the town is, I don't know, bringing shame to the state. He decides to wage a protest by enforcing racism and segregation in the high school. It sounds fantastical, and people did talk about the fact that it is a satirical piece, but it's satirical brilliance, and I'm looking forward to reading it. The next book I'm reading this month is Lilith's Brood by Octavia E. Butler. Now, I've heard that this book is sci-fi perfection, that the world is vivid. Octavia E. Butler tells a powerful story. All I do know about it is that the story is told through the eyes of Lilith Iyapo, who is human, and after Earth was destroyed in a war, she's resurrected by the Oankali, who are an alien race who basically try to save Earth by genetically merging with mankind, except for the fact that the Oankali are a descendant of mankind. And like, it just sounds weird and kooky, but I've been told that I would love it, and I am looking forward to it. It's big, but I cannot wait to read this book. The next book I'm reading this month is The Snowman by Jo Nesbo. Now, this basically is also a thriller. Apparently every time the snows come in a particular town, women, wives, mothers are basically kidnapped, and then the only thing that is left of them is usually their scarf around the neck of a snowman. So it's the killer's calling card, and we have the detective who's trying to solve the mystery and save the women of the town. It sounds like it's going to be an atmospheric read. The person that gave me this book said that they really enjoyed it, and like, I would too. And then I'm also reading this tiny little gem. Is The Art of War by Sun Tzu, translated by Thomas Cleary. I've had this book with me for years now. I have never really gotten around to reading it. I do know that it's packed punch full of wisdom about, you know, strategy and how to deal with confrontation, conflict, and competition. And I think that it's a book that will be applicable to everyday life, because these are things that we deal with on a constant basis. And I'm looking forward to gleaming all the wisdom that Sun Tzu has to, you know, teach me. Now to the books I'm reading either as e-copies, comics / graphic novel, or they're still on their way and they will soon be delivered. The very first book on that list is going to be King of Scars by Lee Bardugo. That book is coming in my Illumicrate box. I cannot wait to have it. I cannot wait to read it, and I'm definitely going to read it in February. I do not know what it is about. All I know is that it's Nikolai's story, and that is all I needed to know, and I want to read it because and also Nina is going to be there, like Nikolai, Nina, Zoya, Nadia, hopefully Tamara. Like, my faves are coming back, and I cannot wait to read it. The next book I'm also going to be reading in February is finally The Wicked King by Ollie Black. My copy should be arriving sometime this month. The minute I get it, I intend to read it, because I need to know what's up with Jude, what's up with Carden. I sincerely hope that someone, at least at some point in that book, punches Locke in the face. Like, if there is no punching of Locke in the face, I'll be very mad and very pissed. And Taryn can choke. The next book I'm going to be reading this month that I've actually started already is Saw Kill Girls by Claire Legrand. That is the group book for Team Ketterdam in the Booktube Games. I'm listening to it on audiobook. It's very atmospheric. I totally and completely highly recommend it. So far, it's basically a mystery. I actually thought it was going to be a thriller, but there have been some mythical, you know, there's a bit of mythical element to it, and I'm like, okay, this is interesting. It's not just a plain thriller. There's a monster, the collector, that basically collects girls in Sawkill, and the Sawkill girls, every couple of years a Sawkill girl gets missing and she's never found again. People are looking for her. They're not sure, is she dead, is she missing? And just as they make deal with that fact, another girl goes missing, and this has been happening for years, and we are following the story through the eyes of three girls, Marion, Zoe, and Val. Each one of them have their own merits and their own strength. So I'm actually looking forward to it. It's actually more of a horror thriller than I think just a thriller, because there are some things that are refined, but I'm just on chapter 18. There are like 55 chapters in total, so I can't wait to see if I actually end up liking it. But so far, I find it very atmospheric and I like it. The next two books I'm reading are actually comics / graphic novel. The first is Abbott, which is basically about Elena Abbott, a tough as nails, badass reporter who also happens to be black, the only, in fact, one of the few black reporters in the city, and the only black reporter at a newspaper outfit. And apparently she has to deal with both institutionalized sexism and racism, and is unafraid to tell the truth and bring the uncomfortable truth to the people of her city. It just sounds like it's going to be a badass read, and she looks amazing. I can't wait to read it. The next graphic / comic novel I'm going to be reading this month is Black, and this basically tells the story of the Black Lives Matter movement, but turn things on its head with the whole question of what if black people are the only people with superpowers, because the story kicks off with the character being shot by a cop and then coming back to life and discovering that there's a whole lot of things about the world and about himself that he does not know, and I'm looking forward to reading it. Then there's Pride by Ibizo Boy, which is a retelling of Pride and Prejudice. I'm looking forward to reading it because it's a retelling of Pride and Prejudice, like with black main characters set in Brooklyn. Like, what's not to love? And I would always read any version of Pride and Prejudice I can get because that is one of my favorite books. And speaking of one of my favorite books, Pride and Prejudice is yet another book I'll be reading this month. Although, as always, I'll be listening to the audiobook read by Rosamund Pike, because ever since I discovered that audiobook, that is the only way I've been actually being able to really read Pride and Prejudice. Like, just give me the audiobook. Rosamund Pike is amazing. She's a fantastic, amazing narrator, and I enjoyed it, and I cannot wait to come back to the world and see Elizabeth Bennet, my love, and Mr. Darcy all over again. The next book I'm going to be reading this month as well is Shadowshaper by Daniel Jose Holder, which is basically about a girl who has the ability to imbue magic into art, and she has to, you know, save the world, battle darkness. It's an homage to graffiti artists and artists in general, and I can't wait to read it. It sounds like it's going to be brilliant, and that art cover, like, she's Afro-Latinx, she's gorgeous, like, that cover has me like, see her, doesn't she look pretty? Doesn't she look pretty? Next book I'll be reading this month is Everfair by Nisi Shawl. Now, this is an historical alternate fiction steampunk novel that basically answers the question of what if it was that the people of the Congo had discovered steam technology before the Belgians came, and how that affected, or rather what effect that had on the colonization of the Congo. Did it happen? How would this story have played out if the people of the Congo had steam technology? And apparently Everfair is the name of the utopian town that returning slaves, missionaries, bought from King Leopold, you know, as a safe haven, a utopia for black people who are persecuted from all over the world, and persecuted Congolese and returning African American slaves could settle and build an ideal world for themselves. The next book I'm reading is the group book for the Blackathon, which is The Poet X by Elizabeth Azevedo, which plays on spoken word poetry, a girl who uses her voice and her poetry in order to, you know, speak out against the world, and uses it also to come to terms with the extreme Catholicism of her mother, who would rather her be, you know, quiet and docile, but she refuses to be any of those things because that is not what she is. And she signs up for a school slam poetry club and like thrives. And a lot of people have read it, a lot of people love it. I cannot wait to read it. The next book I'm reading this month is Sin and Tonic by Rhys Ford, which is the last book in the Sinners series by Rhys Ford. It's basically rock and roll meets thriller, because we're coming full circle now. This story follows Mickey St. John. Sinner series follows Mickey St. John and his band, the different individual members of his band, and, you know, combines rock and roll and music with, you know, thrillers, and every single book someone is trying to kill somebody. And now we've come full circle, because now someone is once again after Mickey St. John and is dropping bodies in their wake, and which is annoying because Mickey and his band have been through hell since the accident that happened in the very beginning of the book, in the beginning of the series, that led to the death of all his other bandmates. And now he has a new band, he's trying to get his life together, he's found the love of his life. Morgan is the boyfriend of his dreams, and now like shit is hitting the fan, and Mickey is like, fuck that shit, no. So I've had this book forever. I cannot wait to read it. It's going to be a final chapter in the Sinner series. The next book I'm reading this month is To All the Boys I've Loved Before by Jenny Han. It's yes another trilogy. I'm only reading the first book this month. Hopefully, I love the movie. I love the Netflix movie. I found it heartwarming and cute, and it just made me smile. And some people have even said that the book is even better, and I'm like, holy shit, I want to read it. I can't wait to meet Lara Jean. I can't wait to meet Peter. Like, I'm looking forward to that story. Yeah, I'm also listening to it on audiobook because I heard that the audiobook is really good. So fingers crossed that I enjoy it. Yet another book I'm listening to on audiobook is Becoming by Michelle Obama. What can I say? I love Michelle. I love her poise. I love her character. I love her mind. I love the way she thinks, the way she speaks, and of course I am going to want to read this book, or rather listen to this book, because it's narrated by Michelle Obama herself, and I'm just going to imagine like we're just there sitting, she's telling me her life story, all the things she's learned, all the things she wants to do, her dreams, her ambitions, her goals, her successes, her highs, her lows. Like, I cannot wait to read this book, and so far people that have read it really love it, so I know I am going to, and I think it's perfect for February. Another book I'm reading this month is Dragon Pearl by Yuan He, which is basically a fantasy meets sci-fi, where you have this girl who basically comes from a family of fox spirits, And all her life her mother has warned them and cautioned them to not let anybody know that they are fox spirits, for fear of what would happen to them if the world knew. And her brother goes missing, and her brother is accused of stealing something that she's 100% certain he never would have, and she goes on a journey to help him to recover the stolen item and discovers more along the way. And it's sci-fi, it's fantasy, it's Korean mythology, it's everything I want. Like, I want to read the book. And the last book I'm reading this month is Sadie by Courtney Summers. Yes, I'm reading Sadie because of Contemporary-a-thon, but also because I've heard such really, really fantastic things about it, and everybody has unanimously agreed that the Sadie audiobook is perfection. So I'm going to be listening to it on audiobook because it's done as podcast. I think what happens is that a girl's elder sister goes missing or something like that, and a podcast is started in order to find her. And I think a lot of things happen along the way. Like, there's a possibility that the younger sister might also go missing, and nobody's sure if she's alive. They're trying to get to her in time. I don't know. The thing about thrillers for me is that I like going in blind because I want to discover all the turns just the way the characters in the book do, because it's thrillers. Like, thank you. So I'm looking forward to reading it. And yes, those will be all the books I want to read in February. It's a massive TBR. I checked, 29 books. What the fuck? Not bad for a girl that only read 4 books in January, but I'm really looking forward to it because I'm pumped to be reading, and I want to win this Booktube Games for my team. So to every other team out there looking at this video, just in case you see it, Ketterdam is coming for you. That's all I'm going to say. And that will be all. Let me know if any of these books are in your TBR. I know a lot of people are reading Pride because Pride seems to be like the book we're all reading in February. I cannot wait to talk about it with all of you all. But are there any other books you're going to be reading this month on my list? Let me know down in the comments below. Do not forget to like and subscribe. I make new videos every Sundays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and I will see you soon. Until then, stay passionate, love books, love yourself.